Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the first of many Radical Selfie coaching webinars. We're going to pre-record some, we're going to do some live. And basically what we do is when we see topics that are out there, whether they're fresh, hot topics or they're 50 million years old, if they are connected to spirituality, relationship clarity, and self-expression, and we think you can use it to mine your own experiences and grow into yourself, we want to share that with you. So that's what this one is all about. My name is Akilah S. Richards, and I am here with my co-coaches and sister friends, Trelawney Michelle of SoFundamental.com and Monique Allison of RelationshipClarityCoaching.com. I always forget the coaching part at the end, RelationshipClarityCoaching.com. And Monique, I'm just going to give the floor over to you to just kind of give us the overview of what we talking about today. Welcome, ladies, and welcome everybody watching.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm really excited about us doing this chat because it's a topic, of course, about relationships, and I'm sure self-expression and spirituality will show up in this conversation. And so all of us watched an interview that Jill Scott. She was on a Breakfast Club, and so they spoke on so many different topics relating to relationships and how we as women are showing up in relationships that we wanted to expand and add to that conversation.
Yeah.
So I have several points that I'm gonna put on the table, and we're gonna all discuss it and kind of give our take on it. So
yes.
You guys are ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I watched it again yesterday too, and I was like,
I did this morning. Yeah.
You did?
Different things. I'm like, I wish I was sitting there so I can like add my little 2 cents to it. But
Yep.
The first thing they talked about was this I've never heard of. It's called closure sex. Have you heard of that before?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. So when she brought it up, is this thing that apparently before you end a relationship, you have this one last round of sex and then you're done. But when I heard that, to me, it was still like this form of attachment that you can't let go. And what Jill Scott also said about that topic was you want to clear your space so that you can really open that space up for someone you really want to be with to have a more meaningful relationship. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about that?
I think it depends on the relationship and just how you feel. And, that's our work. It's all about how you feel. When I first saw it, I was tempted to say, like, no, you need to let it go. But then just realistically thinking back on my relationships, and I just realized that sometimes it's what you want to do. It's like, it feels like the situation calls for it. But then on the other hand, there are relationships, and there are, the exes, the now exes that no, you just have to cut this off. It got to be done. You can't afford any more energy, time, physically, mentally, spiritually, anything else into this. So it does need to be done. But I feel like if it's something you want to do and you know yourself, you know that this is really the end, I think it's based on you and how you feel. I didn't have any problems with it. What about you?
Same thing. I really feel like those sort of things, really like the overarching thing for me was that a lot of those things felt like should or shouldn'ts, when I feel like life and relationships are not like that. It varies so greatly by person. And sometimes I think something like that can be fun. Like personally, I wouldn't do it because for me, if I'm done, I'm done. I don't want you seeking around in my womb space if I've already made that separation. I don't, I connect. I'm a person who connects sex to all the other aspects. I'm not a casual sex person. I don't have a problem with it, but it's not me. So for me, if the door is closing, the fuck you got your foot at the beginning of the door for? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're in my way at that point. So but I feel like for each person, as long as you are, it's knowledge of self. If you're clear that, look, he's just really good at this and I just want one more game right quick, do it.
Yeah.
Know yourself and make sure it's not a hindrance.
Yeah, I agree because I'm just like that. When I'm done, because I have a high tolerance, So I'll tolerate but so much. So when I say I'm done, I'm done. I'm not coming back to have sex. We don't need to have one last go around. It's just done. And I feel like that energy part of it, it's like it's a misalignment. If you're saying you want to be done, but then you're still sexually involved,
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, it would be confusing.
Yeah. But
Message.
and Mo, just now when you said that, something else came up. When you said you have a high tolerance, elaborate, please. So, so a person who doesn't take a lot of shit, do they have a low tolerance? And is one good and one bad? Like, what does that mean?
I don't think it's good or bad. It's just that thing about knowing self,
Mm-hmm.
and me knowing that I'm always willing to do everything possible to work something out. And so when I felt like I've done everything that I can,
Mm-hmm.
and I say I'm done, I don't do back and forth. I don't do that. Well, let's take a break, and I go all in.
I see.
Yeah, like I give it my all. Let's try this, let's try that. And then when I feel like I've tried everything that I can, and it's not feeling right to me, it's taking away peace of mind and all of those things. When I'm done, I'm done. And it's not easy though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna close the door and be like, I'm done. And then when the door closes, I'm like, like, and like,
yeah, I think that's so natural. Like we do that. But I wanted to make sure we bring that up because, for women listening and perhaps men, I don't know, but for women listening, I'm actually going to put the link also for the interview because it was her and like Charlemagne the God, the Breakfast Club. And I don't remember the other sister's name who was a part of it. But one thing Jill said that really stuck out to me, she was like, my love ain't watery. She was I was just like, oh, tabernacle. I love that. And then it brought back what you just said about like a high tolerance. So I would love to get your perspective on that part. And also Trelawney, just from the spiritual space. When she said my love ain't watery, like that means different things to different women, right? So like for Jill Scott, who is more of, I think, a traditionalist than a person like myself, when it comes to relationships, it's like, you got to go hard. You got to love is something you work for and this sort of thing. And people have that mentality. In your book, about releasing toxic relationships, Mo, you talk about like your own hustles, that hustling for relationships, and that expands to any type of relationship. We all, in different ways have this idea, like, you got to work hard for this thing and it's going to take struggle and it's going to take strife and he might cheat and he might, sorry. So is my love watery if I don't accept that thing? Like, what does it mean to love hard? How does a woman define what loving hard means for her without feeling like she's, like going against something that's realistic? You know what I'm saying? Because it was this idea of what's a realistic expectation. And if you don't meet that expectation, then is your love watery? Like that stuck out for me in that with that statement.
Yeah, when she said that, I internalized things. So I'm like, how does that relate to me? Is my love watery and stuff like that? And it's like it really depends on, I guess, what you like, your value, just like what are you willing to tolerate? Because regardless of if your love is watery or not, like if something just doesn't feel good, like I don't know if I would use that as my decision-making, factor. With, like, you have a right to say, you can have that type of approach to a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone is doing something to you that doesn't feel good, I think you can still say you have your love is watery, but you're just not going to tolerate certain things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. What do you think, Trelawney?
I think it's intuitive, and then too it depends on the behavior. It depends on like Mo said, what you're willing to tolerate. So in that, it's like what happened as to what decides whether, okay, I'm gone. But when she said watery, for me, I thought about literally water. Water can be cold, lukewarm, or hot. Water can be shallow, water can be deep. And she's saying like mine is none of that. Like you're saying, she's more traditional. But I feel like, I don't know, when your love is watery, I think that sometimes it has to be, and how can I say this? I try not to make my decisions when I'm at an extreme emotion anymore. Like if I'm really, really mad, or I'm really, really sad, or I'm really, really in love and happy and blissful, that's not the best time to make my decision, because on the other side of that, I'm usually not going to have peace with it. Like if I say,
make your decision about what? To make your decision about,
like right now, about leaving.
Mm-hmm.
To end the love. Well, I can't say to end the love, but to end the relationship.
Yeah.
So I'm at the height. We're arguing. I say, you know, we're done. We're done. I can't take this no more. But then I feel like I'm more likely to fall into the cycle, versus when I'm more on a neutral plane. You know, then I can just say, you know what, I'm more level-headed to think about it without the you know, emotional influence. And then I say, you know what, like Mo said, I gave this my all. Or even if I didn't give it my all, I've decided that this isn't worth it. So I know what my love consists of, and right now this just isn't worth the continuing of my love here, you know?
Yes, I love that. And it's good that we're all getting to share our perspectives. Trelawney, will you turn your audio down just a little bit?
Yeah.
Maybe a couple decibels. Thank you. Because I think we're in 3 very different relationship spaces. And I want to make sure that as we're talking here, we're not like, I'm a coach, and so I'm going to give my formula. Like, I really want to make sure we're just talking to people.
Yeah.
That's really where our magic is and where we can connect. So I've been married for 12 or 13 years. I think it's 13, right? You know, so like a long-term relationship that's been really positive. You know, it came with its ups and downs, but not extremes. Like a lot of things that I see people go through, I'm just like, you know, I just haven't had those sort of experiences. Trelawney and Monique, can you speak to us just very briefly about where you are, whatever you're comfortable sharing or not sharing with your relationship space, so we can, you know, so people can hear and see themselves in where we are too.
So for me, I was in a 7-year relationship, married towards the end of it. I'm divorced. However, I am in a new relationship now, and it's been like 4 years, and it's the best I've had in all of my relationship experiences.
Yeah.
Because I'm more myself. And I was just trying to think about one of the other topics that came up was falling in love versus growing in love.
Uh-huh.
And I felt like I've done the falling in love. I've done the learning to love someone, which didn't really work out because it was like strategic.
Yeah.
I'm like consciously and like flowing in love. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, flowing in love. I love that. that. Yeah.
I don't like to force things, and I'm gonna be real with myself. Like I've said I love you to very few men, even though I've probably been in relationships with a lot of men, but very few. I never just loosely say I love you. Like, so this go around, I'm like just flowing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not forcing it. I'm not trying to make it what it's not. I'm very conscious because of past experience. So that's where I am. I'm you know, I'm in a good relationship now.
Awesome.
And the lucky number 7. So I've also been, we've been together for 7. I think me and Akilah talked about it before. It's like if some people say we've been together for this many years, we've been married for this. I don't think that matters. It's like 7 years. And so we're transitioning out. And just like I said then, it's like I decided to wait until a neutral moment, and I was just thinking, and it was actually after reading Monique's book, like it had been on my mind, but that damn Release That Relationship.
Yes.
And particularly, she has this part where you write a letter to your ideal partner, and after I wrote my letter, I was just like, wow, not you. And so I had to come to him and tell him basically from a place of truth. And I realized because before I opened my mouth, I was tempted to say, I can't trust you because the things you used to do, and while that's there, that wasn't the current truth. My current truth was just that I want something more and you're not it. And, you know, being like a woman and a nurturer and an empath, that was so hard to do because I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want to hurt you. I don't, you know, but it's not about that right now. It's just about telling you the truth, you know, so, and all out of love for you and for me.
Yes.
So I did that, and right now we're still under the same roof. So I'm still going through the difficult parts of, and it's getting very close. I'm about to actually leave the state. So I'm kind of feeling all the feels right now. It's like I'm feeling the scare, like, oh my God, who's going to kill the cockroaches?
Right.
Literally, like everything will come to mind. I feel like everything comes to mind, but it's a scary, exciting, but that's what I'm here for. It's like the scary, exciting stuff. So
yeah.
I have a question for you, Trelawney. So in that space, right? Usually the who's going to do this, who's going to do that will usually make someone stay and try to, well, maybe we could work it out, because that fear of I'm not going to have this person to do these things comfortable. How are you still staying strong in your decision?
I literally think about death. My mom, my stepdad just passed. And so I'm seeing how the things she thought she wouldn't have been able to do, he's dead. Like, you have to do it. And so that's just how I feel. Like, okay, if you physically weren't in the realm anymore, like, I would have to do it. I don't know. And then, so it's that, that's the more dramatic piece. Like, when I really have to snap myself back into reality, because I'm a Pisces, I'm emotional, I'm idealistic, romantic, so I have to do that for myself sometimes. But then on the other side, it's realizing that I need to know that for myself. Like, Akilah, help me. In the beginning of your manifesto, it's called Ngozi. It's like a woman who comes with her own. Like, I want to be able to, that's me. Like, I'm independent, not to bring up the independent woman phrase that's so often said and cliched nowadays, but I do. Like, I need to be able to do these things for myself, and I want to come whole into my relationship and not codependent and dependent on myself. I don't know. So yeah,
I love that. That's self-mothering. That's what I call that.
Exactly.
And that's something that I think in all of our relationships, it's really important to do. Like, to, as you said, you have to do that thing for yourself, to snap yourself. I'm the same way. And I'm not a Pisces. I just need to do that. I have to be like, shut the shit down. Like I have to think about, and for me, it's that old woman, I think about myself in my 80s. Like, if she was talking to me, so I call her all the time now. And she would be like, honey, no. She would say that, and then I follow her, and then I deal with the feels, and they come and they go or whatever. But at the end of the day, what is it that I need? Like, who am I? And if I'm sitting in the mirror, because this is one of the things with relationships. A lot of times people stay in relationships because of how they think they're going to feel, and also how they think it's going to look to other people.
Yeah.
Right? But then at the end of the day, when you're in the mirror that night, like when you're brushing your teeth, I always think about those moments too. Like, when I'm brushing my teeth and I'm looking at my face in the mirror, what am I thinking about her? Am I just like, so you're going to go another day in the space, whether it's a relationship with a person or with a project or a color nail polish, like whatever the thing is, it's like, is this really you right now? Are you feeling this right now? And if you're not, how sad is it that I have to look in the mirror and not feel right about?
Or if you're even willing to look in the mirror, because I think sometimes it can get so you want to avoid that. You don't even ask the questions or even look. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, just be cute and go. Just keep it.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're taught that. I mean, school teacher, get it done, without feeling the feelings. Yeah. So what were some of the other things from that thing, Monique, that's connected to what we're talking about now from Jill's interview?
I'm sorry, your voice sounds really low. I don't know what happened.
It does.
Yeah.
Is it still like that? Let me see. Maybe I'll turn my microphone up.
There we go.
Better?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think I went too far from the mic.
Okay. I didn't hear your question. What was the question?
Oh, I said, so what were some of the other things from her interview? Because I want to make sure that we hit a couple more of your points too.
So one of the things, and this could be like a trendy topic in regards to Bill Cosby. And so they were expanding on that and talking about separating the art from the artist. And it just, it made me think about just on a
Sorry, go ahead. No, that's,
I was like, what, you can't hear me?
No, I can hear you. I'm just like, boo. Go ahead.
It made me think about in general relationships where it's not, a celebrity type relationship, but when someone's actions and their behavior is negative and it's not always benefiting their relationship, do you separate the behavior of the person? How many times do you say, oh, that's just something that they're doing? And what comes into that mix is, but they were so nice, they've done these things, and you get confused. And so how do you know what I'm saying? The best way that I can think of getting through that type of situation to where you're giving someone a lot of chances, they're doing a lot of good stuff, but they're doing a lot of bad stuff, and the bad is bad. And from my personal experiences with cheating,
I'm hearing some
Is that me?
Background thing. Trelawney, will you mute yours and let me see if it's that? There we go. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Mo. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
So, in reference to separating the actions from the
Person.
from
Yeah.
the person, and then that even came up with celebrities. Recently, they had the Soul Train Award, and it's been this topic around R. Kelly performing, and it was like all these conscious women, and knowing what he did to a young girl, and then personally, I know Akilah and we had that I missed that with you with Chris Brown. And I didn't get it. Remember, I was like, "Oh, Chris Brown," and I think it was after the Rihanna thing. You was just like, and
Yeah.
and I didn't get it. And then just recently, I'm starting to see that. You know what I'm saying? How do the person have these good things about them, but then it was this word she kept using, proclivity. I was like,
Proclivities. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I looked it up. I'm like, what is that word?
Yeah.
And so have that. And so in relationships, you know what I'm saying? How do you measure?
Yeah, I mean, you already know how.
It's black and white.
And I mean, I don't even consider it a black and white. It's just what makes sense in my mind. Like I don't the behaviors don't exist independent of the person. Like I'm not with a behavior, I'm with a being. And all of those things are a part of that. And so I may be able to do it with an artist. I don't, because I'm an all-in type of person in that way. My love ain't watery. And I look at watery as consistency, not flow. Like it's either watery, meaning that it's fluid and it's wishy-washy, or it's thick, right? And mine is thick. And so I'm either all in or I'm not with like anything that I do. I'm really, really into you or I don't like you. Like I don't have like people that I'm just cool with. I have sister friends. That's it. And then empty space. Always. And so for me in a relationship, if you're doing something and then people say things like, well, I know his heart, and I want to be able to be there for him through the whole thing. This isn't a judgment about that. But for me, look at the pattern. Like, did it change because you knew his heart or because he did this wonderful thing? Do you feel better about what the person did? In Jill's interview, she was saying all these contributions with Bill Cosby, her and so many other people wanted to go to college as a result of what he was doing. For a lot of people, the Huxtables, that was like their pseudo family when they didn't have one. And I appreciate all of those things. But I don't disconnect from, and it's alleged. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know. But as she said, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And for me, I don't separate those things. The same thing with like a Chris Brown and certainly a R. Kelly. Please, I don't separate the things, because where then does that line end? So it's such a selfish thing. It's like the idea with racism, saying that, well, because I didn't experience it, then other people need to get over it. It's an institutionalized thing. It's systemic. Those behaviors are affecting things besides me. So how selfish am I to be like, well, I like that song, so he could sleep with whoever or pee on or rape or whoever he wants to, because I fucks with the music. To me, that's a very selfish and a negative perspective, and it's also it lacks compassion for who those actions affect outside of me. So that's why I'm not cool with it.
Yeah, and I get it. It took me a minute to grasp, because I was separating at one point. And I believe that also showed up in my relationship, because I dealt with infidelity from the beginning, the middle, to the end, to the very end. And for me to survive, I think that's what I did, that separation. You know what I'm saying? I did that. But we have a family and we're doing this, and he did do this, and he is trying, and all those different excuses. And eventually it just became about me setting boundaries and having standards and just not tolerating certain things and not being able to separate. And it still kind of shows up with me, because we have a son together, we co-parent, and I'm always like, he did this as a husband. You know what I'm saying? Is that going to show up and so all of that stuff, and it can get confusing. But I think if you set your boundaries and you're very clear about what you're going to tolerate and not tolerate, what your standards are, whether they did nice stuff, you know, like you said, the patterns, whether they're doing good things, but those bad things, if it's, like you said, if it's not respectful to me or anybody else, then I can't even completely respect you as a person. It's hard for me to say, okay, but you were nice to me, but you know what I'm saying? You cheated on that person, but you're okay because you didn't cheat on me. Like, I can't.
Yeah, and I feel you. And it's like, and I think that once we do, the more we do it, separate the art from the artist or the person from the behavior, I think we do it quicker next time. Like, I'm less likely to do it the next time. And my thing was, what helped me tremendously was I divorced my mom, like my divorce there. And it was like, you realize, okay, but just because I separate the art from the artist don't mean that I forget the good stuff. I still remember all the beautiful, wonderful things you did, but I don't forget the other things as well. So, and it's just, and I realized I have to stop using the word selfish for myself. And say selfily. So it's choosing selfily. I'm choosing for myself. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going back to those patterns. I'm realizing even not just what this particular person does, but even my own patterns within these particular situations. And I'm cutting it off, you know. But I still respect what you did, but no, I'm not listening to the music no more, because just like you said, it's selfish in that way. Because if I was the victim, I think she had a part two where she talked about, yes, when I was sick, he sent me some kind of tea and I drank it and I was fine, you know. But I was like, but if you drunk and if you weren't fine, then this would be a whole nother conversation right now. So no, that's right.
Thank you. That's why I do not understand it. Like, and I don't care. I'm sure there'll be backlash for this one with like the R. Kelly and the Chris Brown. People are like, well, how long are people gonna berate Chris Brown for what he did? Really?
Yeah.
Really? And then the R. Kelly thing is like, if it was your daughter, it would be something different, right?
Yeah.
Or if you drank the cappuccino with the whatever the hell in it and you woke up whatever, then it would be a different thing. You know, we have to think about how these energies affect us across the board. And I think that sort of way is also helpful, even personally, even for you. It's not just about society. Because if you think about, you know, if it were me, if that was me, how would I feel? Then it's easier, as you said, Trelani, in that moment where, you know, your guy does the wrong thing again.
Yeah.
You keep tolerating it and separating. You're like, yeah, but I'm not going to live in the past, or I'm not, you know, there are all of these things that we say. And I think the more rationale you have to give yourself, the more your gut already knows, I should not have to rationalize respect. Those things are very straightforward. They're very instinctive, right? They're right in the core of our belly. And the more you have to bring your brain into the equation, I think, even with love, because people try to say that love is, you know, it's a spiritual thing, and then you have to bring your mind into it as well. And I don't think so. I think that it's the opposite, at least in my experience. If I have to bring rationale into the environment too much, that's me trying to make it something that it ain't. That's me trying to make it into something that would feel better, and I'm hoping that it'll get there. But what is the actual reality? And so in terms of, just because of our time, in terms of a few takeaways from each of our perspectives, you know, when it comes to really being authentic with how you express yourself, which I'll address, and when it comes to being in a relationship that is really healthy and serving you to help you grow and flow, Monique, I'd like for you to give us one takeaway on that. And then Trelani, just from the space of spiritual growth and exploration, you know, as it relates to relationships in this way, I'd love for each of us to leave, you know, our viewers here with one takeaway. And then if they want, you know, to expound on that a little bit more, then we can talk about that maybe in writing or even in a follow-up.
Yeah. I would say for me, it ties into one of the topics that they touched on in the interview about having accountability for yourself, like a different level of accountability and having that self-inquiry. And so I would always say, just make sure you're in touch and in tune with who you are and being really clear about how you want to experience your relationship, how you want to feel, and make decisions that's in alignment with that. Like, always check in with yourself. Always, if something doesn't feel good, that's an opportunity for you to really check in and see what's causing that, what's triggering it, and what you can do about it. Just making changes. Don't just tolerate. Don't just get comfortable. Don't just stay stuck. Like, do something about it, whether it's a conversation, whether it's giving yourself that space. just something. You know what I'm saying? Just don't get stuck in it.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's my same takeaway too. It's just taking the time out to tune in, like I've been saying lately, just realizing who you are, what your own patterns are, and just always circling back to self. Like, even if I have to stop and I'm noticing what's going on with him and what he's doing and what she's doing, but that it all circles back to me. Well, what am I doing to allow this to keep happening or to happen? Or what can I do now to change how I want to feel about this situation? Just it all circles back to you. And that's mainly, that's my takeaway. Because I love that she said in the beginning with her journals, like, her latest album was it came from just going back and reading her journals. And in our journals, like, that's exactly what you get. You get the patterns and you get the stories, and not just your stories, but the ones Akilah told me and the ones Monique told me and the books I read, and Maya and Tony, and everybody great. So just circle back to you.
I love that.
I would add to that. I would add to that just a conscious approach to things. Because I think we unconsciously just do things to do it. You know, we have a baby together. Let's just be together. You know what I'm saying? I like you. You like me. It may not make sense, but I like you.
A situationship and not a relationship. I talk about that in my book. Yeah, so many people are in situationships. Yeah.
So it's the consciousness, you know, just make sense of it all. Just make sure it feels good, and that, you know, practicality have to fit in there as well. You know what I'm saying? But just have just a harmony about how things are coming together.
Yeah.
Of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And our closeout note, I would say apply my 880 rule. And it's myself at 8 years old, that inner little girl, and myself at 80 years old, that old woman. Those are my resources. I tap into both of them because I think that on the 80-year-old side, like, my ancestors speak through her. And then also on the 8-year-old side, you know, half ancient, half child, like that whole thing. So because it's, you know, when we're stuck, it's kind of hard to just be like, well, don't get stuck. For me personally, it's like, well, I'm already stuck.
Yeah.
What happens now? You know, my Kevin Hart voice, what happens now? So it's like, for me, what I use when I feel stuck in my now, it's my 880 rule. So I call on 8-year-old Akilah, like, would I want this for her? Or how would she feel if I was her mommy or her big sister and she was watching me accept this thing or go through this thing? Would she be like, you know, tugging on my shirt, like, this doesn't feel safe for me? Mm-hmm. That's an indicator for me. That's what kind of pulls my Jeep out of the mud. And then my 80-year-old who will sit me down and rub my shoulders, you know, with her comfortable skin and all of this, just really who she is, and be like, baby, how is this okay for you? Because at this stage, that's not acceptable for me. So you can, you know, whether that's a person, if you were close to a grandparent, or you can make the person up all together like I do. She's like a combination of all these different people in my life. Call upon those people, you know, and use those as your mothers in that sense, because we can mother ourselves. Mm-hmm. So, you know, sometimes it takes something outside of us, and you can reach forward or reach back in that way. And so we hope that this conversation was helpful. We have these type of dialogues all the time in our WhatsApp group. And we said, you know, we want to share these things for people who don't have the wonderful sister friendships that we have. So we want you to comment, because we'll be sharing this on social media. And we also, more importantly than that, we want you to be thinking about anything that we said that really resonated with you that you can use. And I know Trelawney will support me on this. Write that shit down. There's so much power. And same with Monique with the journaling, right? Write it down. Get into yourself. Really get into yourself and farm these experiences and see what you can do towards how you want to feel.